So I had a long conversation with another content creator recently about targeting a specific audience and specifically how you start something new in this space. You see, they were debating about going into a new platform and figuring out the type of content they wanted to produce there and what would begin the conversation or introduce a community to them. And a lot of times when we think about building or starting something new, we think about finding our own community or building and establishing our own community, which is great. It is a wonderful thing to do, and over time, that is part of the process. But one of the compelling things in my mind is not the idea of necessarily building your own community. It is instead figuring out how to join the conversation with an already established community on an already established platform. It's sort of like learning a new language in some ways for me. If I was going to be going to another country, I would try to learn the basics first. Understanding how to say hello, ask for food, go to the restroom, the introductory things. Well, that's how a new space is. That's exactly what you should be focused on. That's exactly what you should be doing. When you decide that you're going to start something new, you have to figure out how to communicate with the people that are already there. So on social media platforms, because that's where we'll start, and then we'll dive into how you can identify and start a conversation with already established communities. But on social media platforms, I find that you should be consuming the content for the area that you want to produce content for. You're not going to walk into a space thinking that you know best and your ideas are going to be proper for whatever environment that is. Unless you're at the very ground floor, and then you were already part of that conversation and you've seen how the trends have evolved over time. You see, every single one of these hubs, be it Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, talking about TikTok, any of these areas that have a potential audience for you to connect with, they also already have a language that you don't have to match entirely, but you can learn how to adapt and work around. And the only way you really know how to do that is by paying attention to the audiences that are there, the communities that are there, and the people who are already successfully producing content in each of those spaces. Now, does that mean you have to do comedy or dancing shots or, true stories on TikTok? No, I mean, you can do your own variation of content. Does that mean that, when the heyday of review videos or the heyday of react videos existed across the board on a lot of places, but specifically YouTube and Facebook, you should go out and start doing react videos? Maybe, but not primarily. That's not what I'm talking about. But understanding that language is there, understanding how to title and hashtag and tag, how to use the right song for the right environment and moment, understanding what trends are happening, and moving with that flow. If I was going to be producing content on TikTok, I could produce this style of content on TikTok, but the delivery, the position, the environment that I'm doing it in, the hashtags I use, the way I react or engage with other people, all of that changes from platform to platform. The message stays the same, but the core concept of content creation has to be customized not only for the space that you're creating it for, but also the audiences that are there. You understand that the way things trend and grow and move across a platform are just reflections of the people that are there. Is it a older, more mature base like you might find on LinkedIn? Is it going to be a generation that grew up on the platform like Facebook, but now it's moved into family and sort of, more relationship-based communication? Is it going to be like TikTok that predominantly was a youth-based audience to start with since it moved over from, I believe, Musical.ly, and is now sort of expanded into more common nomenclature while still having a pretty strong audience of younger fans and younger eyes there? You see, everything that's happening on that platform, the way people engage, react, the new trends that happen in that space, it is all just a reflection of the communication patterns that are already happening there. And so as a new content creator, the first step to understanding what content you should be making is you should be consuming, and aggressively so, as much content as you can from the top creators or the top profiles, both in your genre and outside of your genre, in each of these locations that you want to exist in. Learn how to speak the language, understand what you should be looking for, to the point where when you sit down to make something, you're sort of ready and prepared to go. You understand what you're going to be saying. You understand how it fits into the algorithm, how people will react to it. It doesn't mean everyone's going to see it, but you're at least building into that model. You're letting people know that you're not only a creator, you're also a fan, a part of the platform. I mean, YouTube for a while and still has people describing themselves as YouTubers. That is a phrase that identifies yourself not only as a content creator and a media person and someone that makes their money on the internet professionally, but also, and more importantly, I'm here. I do this. I understand your culture and community. I am part of this environment. I was so before I created content. So what I am doing is a reflection of both my fandom and my desire to have a more active role and an active conversation in this community. And then the second element I wanted to talk about, the second element that was really brought to the light when we were discussing building and finding community as a brand new content creator in this space. And I wrote down a lot of ideas from this conversation that I had. It lasted for about an hour. And if any of you want to get on the phone and chat with me sometime, feel free to let me know. I find that brainstorming and discussing and bouncing ideas off of each other is a great way for me to get ideas for this channel and to improve my own understanding of things. And hopefully, I love to see people execute on the ideas that I have and see results perform well for them over time. I am hoping with this channel that 10 years from now, there will be a few people that say, I was there from year one, man. I was watching from year one, and I applied the stuff you did, and now I'm doing something that I love, right? Like that would be a dream. But the other thing I wanted to touch on is going to be around the concept of joining the conversation with already established communities. What do I mean by that? Well, instead of just studying the platforms that you're looking for, start studying and understanding the language for communities that already exist. Around camera gear and creativity, around art and writing and design space, around, floral patterns or, proper etiquette when it comes to sitting around the dinner table. Who are the best in the business? What are they talking about? What do they do? What do the communities respond to on their page? And how can you join that conversation with them? What's the language they use when they discuss yard care on YouTube? What's the titles and the hashtags? And instead of doing it just for the platform, study and look for the communities that are there. And then along with that, is there a community for the thing you want to create? Or could there be? For instance, if you are I'm in the board game space, so let me use this as the most direct reference that we can. One of the things we've discovered over the last 2 years of producing board game media on my other channel, Quackalope, is that some games and publishers and audiences have a thriving and hungry fan base that are ready for media content, whether or not we post it. Kingdom Death or Root or Oath, like Leader Games would be a good example. Scythe from Stonemaier really surprised us. And I have speculations around another few that are just popular titles that never have enough content out there. And an audience of a couple thousand people that will consume and absorb everything that exists for their game. And so we're working on building a roster that communicates with that group. When we stumble across a pocket of fans that we didn't know existed, we want to be able to produce 5 or 6 different pieces of content specifically catered to joining that community and joining that conversation with them. Now, it's a challenge and we're still figuring out our footsteps in there, but what I'm indicating for those of you who are just starting, for people who are doing something new for the first time, look for the pockets of community that exist, that are ravenous and have not been satiated by the content that's being produced. Where is there a hunger online in whatever your field is? Let's say you're a craftsman who is working on establishing, your woodworking shop. Is there a hunger around sharpening tools or building boxes or general home repair or DIY projects? Is there an active communication going there? And are new creators that are creating content in that field getting engagement and views and eyes and having the core fan base come over into their product? Because remember, this isn't about finding 10,000 people. That'd be amazing. But to start with, this whole concept is about establishing your first fans. The fans that, like I said in the last video, you respect and cherish and engage with and build that community base with. So to start with, find those fans, find where they might be, and figure out a way to invite them into your space. And then celebrate the fact that they're there. Let them be a part of your community and help them help you build the community with them. That's the core idea or concept. That's the principle that we're talking about here. So, the two things for building and finding community, the two main core principles for starting something new and building a brand new community on the internet. First off, live in the platform you're creating content for. Understand the language, be able to join the conversation, understand trends, and be able to see early where things might shift. And then finally, the second, and I think this thing is so valuable, identify pockets where there's a community that already exists, that has not been satiated by the content that's currently been produced, and then produce for that. Lean into that. Be part of that, right? And do so genuinely. I'm not asking you to do anything that is, purely seeking to manipulate people into your site. I mean, these have to be areas that you would naturally be a part of. Ask yourself why and how you're a part of the communities you're in. How'd you get into board gaming or woodworking? What invited you into this space on the internet? And then reflect that, recreate that, and invite those communities to be part of the conversation with you. That's the core principle. Those are the ideas that came up. I have a few other notes that I took, and we'll have more videos coming down. Please remember to share and hit that subscribe button, especially if you're watching. I'm not doing a lot to push this channel at the moment, but if you know people who would benefit from or be able to join in on this conversation, please let them know about what we have going on here. So far, we're producing content daily. I think and I intend to keep that up. So, whatever the case, I'm going to go edit both of these videos and get some stuff out for the main channel, the secondary channel, and hopefully prep some stuff for next week, because next week is going to be Christmas. Whatever the case, I'm going to sign out again.